Let's check out some segments from this friendly Geordie's video where he talks about these new misinformation laws.
The Communications Legislation Amendment Combating Misinformation and Disinformation Bill of 2024, risking huge fines for not censoring what the government determines is misinformation or disinformation.
So governments are threatening social media giants that if they breach their misinformation/disinformation laws, they could face fines of up to 5% of their total global revenue. Now that potential monetary value of the fine is completely insane. And if this law actually goes through, many of the social media companies might end up just censoring anything slightly controversial for making sure they don't receive any fines from the Australian government.
Oh no, someone's posted some bullshit online. Better propose sweeping legislation to force multinational companies to regulate speech of Australians on behalf of whatever minister is in power that day. Can't see anything wrong with that.
Australia already has some very strong laws protecting individuals and groups with anti-discrimination and anti-vilification laws for protection. So why do we need more protections over what we say or what we can see on the internet? And what the hell is misinformation and disinformation anyway? And even more importantly, who the heck decides what's true and what's misinformation? This is extremely worrying because a law like this could easily be used for evil and not for good.
I'm not exaggerating. These laws are that bad. One of the provisions in determining if something is misinformation or disinformation is if the provision of the content on the digital service is reasonably likely to cause or contribute to serious harm.
The interpretation of this clause is so worrying it's not even funny. What happens if the government puts out a health mandate and they say it's for the good of the people to protect the community, but you might have some questions or some doubts, and that could easily be considered to breach that clause because your post could cause harm to the community? I mean, you only have to look back a few years to see recent actual experience of this occurring.
Vilification of a group in Australian society distinguished by race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, intersex status, disability, nationality, or national or ethnic origin.
It's the potential interpretation again, which could completely erode our freedom of speech if these laws are enacted. Say, for example, that Australia is importing immigrants all from the same country. For this example, let's say Greece. Why are 95% of all Australian immigrants coming from Greece? This will drastically change Australia's demographics, Australia's culture, etc. So just questioning Australia's immigration policies has the potential to land you in trouble based on this law, depending on who's interpreting it. And I can tell you one thing for certain, it won't be us determining what's misinformation or disinformation. But in a true healthy democracy, all the information is made available and everyone has the opportunity to make up their own minds on what's true and what's not.
Or vilification of an individual because of a belief that the individual is a member of such a group.
So if you call me a wog and I'm not a wog, big trouble for you. But lucky for you, I am a bloody wog. And that's why I put olive oil on everything.
Serious harm can also mean causing imminent harm to the Australian economy, including harm to public confidence in the banking system or financial markets.
Now this one's crazy. Just say I had a large following on social media, and you can make that a reality. And I felt the Australian housing market had a major risk of crashing, and I pointed out all the reasons why I felt that way. Then someone might determine that my beliefs could cause harm to the Australian economy or to public confidence in the banking system. Because we all know that the Australian banking system is real estate. And if there actually was a major crash, the banks would be screwed. And I mean, maybe that wouldn't happen, but the potential is definitely there. And from past experience, the trust levels are pretty much zero.
Or significant and far-reaching consequences for the Australian community or a segment of the Australian community.
If you post on social media that olive oil's bad, all the Greeks might get freaked out and stop using it in their salads, then they'll all get scurvy and potentially die. How about that for far-reaching consequences for a segment of the Australian community? I mean, who's going to be making these decisions? That's the bloody question here.
If you're not sure what implications that sentence has for what is allowed speech and what is misinformation, don't worry. It's going to be left up to the interpretation of unelected bureaucrats.
And that's the real danger here. Nobody's asking for these new misinformation, disinformation laws, except for those who want to have more control over what's on the internet. Australians are bloody smart and can work out what they believe and what they don't believe without anybody's help. They certainly don't need information censored from them. In my opinion, we need more information, we need more debate, because that's how you can critically analyze subjects. When you can only only see what people want you to see, well, that's when freedom starts to die.
Serious harm. It's just one of those buzzwords that whoever's in government gets to decide the definition of, isn't it?
You could seriously harm me emotionally by saying I'm losing my hair. It's bloody true. But seriously, the open-ended potential interpretation of these terms is absolutely mind-boggling.
I am very, very tired of making the same free speech points over and over again, but it is binary. You either have it or you don't.
Excellent point from Friendly Geordies. As a nation, you need to choose if you're going to 100% commit to freedom of speech. Because if total commitment isn't there and you go down the path of more and more censorship, then free speech is a privilege that's only granted to those in power. And everyone else just has to fall in line to the approved narrative.
I just want one consolation prize of forcing social media companies to remove obvious bullshit spread by legacy media. But this won't happen. And you know why? Because the media's exempt. How the fuck can you write a bill this bad? It's just so inconsistent. It will create a caste system for speech, giving special rights to academics and legacy media, the two suckiest suckholes in the country.
This is so wrong on so many levels. The government, legacy media, and academics are completely exempt from this bill. So basically, the government's allowed to spread misinformation, legacy media is allowed to spread misinformation, but if you post something on social media and it's deemed to breach the law due to someone's interpretation, you're the one who'll be censored and potentially face consequences. And this could destroy people's livelihoods, as many people are monetized on the large social media platforms, and if those platforms are pressured to demonetize creators, their entire income could be completely destroyed due to this law. Let's hear from some of those who are sounding the alarm on this misinformation, disinformation bill.
You touched on free speech earlier. Here in Australia, the government's looking to move a bill on misinformation. The government deciding what is and isn't misinformation. What do you think about that?
Well, that sounds quite totalitarian to me. We're almost living in Orwellian times.
That was former UK Prime Minister Liz Truss explaining how this misinformation bill inches us towards a dystopian future Orwell warned about in his book 1984, where truth is controlled, dissent is silenced, and Big Brother decides what information the public can access. Here's Liberal Senator Alex Antic talking to Michael Schellenberger, who's the founder of Public, a website that reports on free speech.
This idea that we're going to allow the government to go and police what is, hate speech and what's not. I mean, hate is in the heart of every single human being on earth. So it's a very dangerous game that governments are playing, and I'm very concerned about Australia. And so
it's a great point. Politicians would hate getting fact-checked, criticised, made fun of. So what's to stop them trying to silence voices they don't want to hear? With a bill like this, not much.
Censorship is never in service of truth. It's always in service of power and domination and authoritarianism. Always, always, always. There's no exception. There's no progressive, liberal, beautiful, utopian society that had censorship.
Now that should scare the life out of us. We're now seeing a relentless push for more and more censorship over what we can see and what we can say online. And according to Schellenberger, who's not a conservative, there's no possible way a society can improve with more censorship. And I totally 100% agree.
You actually reduce hate speech. You reduce misinformation. You reduce disinformation with free speech.
A resolute commitment to total free speech is what we actually need. And this goes especially for those you disagree with. French writer Voltaire states, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." And if you don't think there could be personal impacts and consequences if we keep going down this censorship road, have a listen to this.
And so what's happening in Australia, it's happening around the world. We saw that in Scotland, they passed new hate crime legislation that allows for very serious police action against people that engage in, what George Orwell called wrongthink. We saw in Ireland legislation proposed that would have allowed the police to go into people's homes and read their telephones and computers for supposedly illegal speech.
If Australia keeps tightening its grip on misinformation, freedom itself will be the next casualty. Democracy thrives on open debate, not government-sanctioned truth. If we continue down this road of more and more censorship, our freedoms, which make this country great, will die. I'm Biko Konstantinos.